Hi, I'm Beverly Harzog, host of Your Personal Economy. You can't control inflation or even the price of groceries, but you can control your own personal economy. And I'm going to show you just how to do that because the way you spend your money is the way you spend your life. And I want you to have the best life possible. Welcome to episode number 12. What's your credit card personality? I've been writing about consumer credit for many, many years now. And if there's one thing I've noticed, it's there are around five different personality types when it comes to how you use credit cards. So I'm going to go over each personality type. And there's also a credit status usually associated with each type. And we're going to talk about the type of credit cards that might be helpful to you. But now there will be some credit card personality types that you might not be happy with. So if you fall into that category, hey, you can change your personality type, okay? And it comes with knowledge and just a little bit of persistence. All right, so let's get started. First up, I'm going to talk about the power user. You're a power user if you are the boss of your credit cards. You have a budget, you track your spending, you know at all times what the balances are on your credit cards. You know what the interest rates are, also known as the APRs with credit cards. You know what your annual fees are. You regularly check your credit reports to be sure there aren't any fraudulent accounts open in your name. And you also check your credit cards online pretty frequently just to make sure there are no fraudulent purchases on any of your credit cards. You guard your credit score. You have a high one and you're proud of it. In fact, you usually have a score over 800 or at very least 760, which is the score you need to get the best rates on credit cards, mortgages, and personal loans. And in terms of credit cards, you're very into rewards credit cards. You earn thousands and thousands every year. You travel for free and you save on everyday expenses. And sometimes you might even use charge cards. You know, you're like American Express cards for the rewards. Or you might even have a business credit card. Some power users also tend to be entrepreneurs. Not all of them, but, a little bit. And, you understand how business cards work too and how to get rewards on those. So there's your power user. And yeah, it sounds good, right? I don't really have any tips for the power user except good job and keep it up. And, one thing that power users usually have in common as well is that they practice mindful spending. This is very important. You pay attention to where each dollar goes, and that's how you maximize your money. And that's how you maximize your credit card rewards so that you can travel for free and even save at the grocery store. So, being a power user is something that everyone can aspire to, and it's also a personality type that everyone can have, all right? And that's one reason why I'm doing, my podcast, Your Personal Economy. I want everyone to achieve the kind of financial life they want and really benefit from their credit cards. Okay, up next, personality type called the juggler. Wonder what that's about. The juggler is someone who carries a balance on their credit cards a couple of times a year, not because they're irresponsible, but because they might not have a high paying job or they might have a lot of issues that really pull on their cash flow. Maybe they've got kids or they help support aging parents. And sometimes they have unpredictable income. So they could be independent contractors or entrepreneurs or in some other field where your income kind of goes up and down or might be even seasonal. So the juggler isn't irresponsible. Okay. It's a situation where they try the best they can. They have to really juggle their finances to make ends meet every single month. So that's an important distinction here. These aren't spendaholics. They really have the best intentions. And as long as you keep paying your bills on time and your balances don't get too high on those credit cards, you can still have an excellent credit score. But when something goes wrong, let's say you have an emergency and you can't, pay even the minimums for a couple of months, that can really mess with your credit score and it can get you into debt. And with credit cards, you're talking compound interest. So it's really toxic debt. So, that could always be a red flag. Now, one thing I can suggest, if you're a juggler, is always have an emergency fund. And I know that's hard to do when you have to juggle your finances, but just start small, put a little bit in it every week, and you'll be surprised really at how fast that can add up. And if you want some tips for that, check out my episode number 4, where I talk about, how to build up an emergency fund. And I also give you 31,450 reasons why you need one. So check out that episode, and get a real life story about something that happened to me and why I was so happy I had an emergency fund. So with the juggler, you just want to be careful about tracking your expenses and having that budget. Now, I want you to stay away from rewards cards until your income stabilizes and you've got the cash flow to pay that balance off every single month. And another thing you can do is just, really work on, that emergency fund. Like I said, it's so important. It's important for everyone, but in particular for this group who is really trying hard. And hopefully your situation with time will get better or you'll get a better job. Anything can happen to improve your situation. So try to stay optimistic, and as your situation does improve, you can start moving up to rewards credit cards where you can earn a lot of money to help you save on travel and on everyday expenses. Next, we have the rebuilder. Now, the rebuilder is someone who needs to rebuild their credit score. All right. At this point, they have a pretty bad credit score. It could be due to unemployment. It could be due to missing a couple of credit card payments or even a bankruptcy. Now, the rebuilder isn't sitting around, feeling sorry for themselves. No, they are actively pursuing, some sort of way to get back into the good graces of credit. So I give them kudos for that, okay? It's hard to come back, but you can. It can take anywhere from 12 to 18 months to even longer, depending on exactly what has ended up on your credit report. Now, like I said, you probably have a really bad credit score at this point, but one type of credit card that can really help you right now is a secured credit card. Many major issuers now offer secured cards. Many of the good ones don't have annual fees and, their interest rates are, okay. All right. But your goal should be not to carry a balance anyway. And if you don't carry a balance, the interest rate is not going to matter. Right. So focus on getting the best secured card that you can qualify for. Okay. Sometimes I see people in this situation getting retail cards. Now they've got very high APRs, interest rates, and you wanna just be careful with those because you can get into trouble with those. Now, the downside of a secured credit card is that you have to make a deposit in a bank account, and that usually becomes your credit limit. But it's a really good way and a low risk way, for you and for the issuer to try to rebuild your credit and just make sure that that issuer reports to the major credit bureaus, and you'll be on your way. Now, a word of warning about, unsecured credit cards, and that's a credit card that does not require a deposit in a bank. So if you look at unsecured credit cards that target those with poor or bad credit, you need to be extremely careful. I've seen some of these interest rates in the high 30s, like 36, 37%. So please be careful, read all the fine print. Some of them have fees like monthly maintenance fees, and annual fees, and sometimes, miscellaneous fees for all kinds of things. So be very careful if you go that route. A secured credit card from a major issuer is a pretty good way to go, and now many of them even offer rewards. So keep that in mind and stick with it, and you can rebuild your credit. The fourth credit card personality type is the accidental debtor. All right, this is a person who suffered from some unfortunate circumstances. Sometimes it's a medical illness that has created an economic crisis for an individual or for their family. So, this is a person who maybe has had credit for a long time, so they have high credit limits. Even though they might be carrying a lot of credit card debt, they might still have a great score because due to those high limits. Now, this is also a person who takes all this very seriously, and they're very concerned about their score. and they know that they need to pay off their credit card debt in order to get back where they used to be. So one thing I can recommend for this person, the accidental debtor, is a balance transfer credit card. And if you still got a good credit score, this is a good idea for you. You can transfer your debt to a balance transfer credit card, get a 0% APR for a certain amount of time. Nowadays, I'm seeing them up to around 21 months, which is great. And during that time, you make payments, but you don't have to pay interest on your debt. So this is a golden opportunity to try to get rid of all or at least most of that debt. So keep that in mind. And once you can start paying down your debt, your credit score will start to come back up. So, the accidental debtor is a very responsible credit card user, but, sometimes circumstances are just out of your control and these things happen. But again, you can come back from it. Next, we're going to talk about the fifth credit card personality type, the walking disaster. Last but not least, we have the walking disaster. Even FEMA can't repair the damage you leave in your path after a trip to the mall. Now, I'm making light of the situation, but this is very serious, okay? And I know what I'm talking about because I was once a walking disaster, okay? And a couple of things can be going on here. It could be emotional spending, where you try to make yourself feel better. It could be just a lack of money management skills, and that's a big issue too that happens to a lot of people. Or you could just be, a shopaholic and you just can't control your spending. So the walking disaster is somebody who goes into Lowe's, for example, to buy a gas grill. Now, by the time you leave Lowe's, you've bought a gas grill, but you've also bought new lawn furniture and new shelving units for your garage. So that's how the walking disaster operates. There's really no budget. You see something you wanted and you just do it. Not surprisingly, this person usually has a very bad score, but you can come back from this. Now, if your situation is that you are a shopaholic, maybe you just can't use credit cards, and that's okay. Don't beat yourself up over that. Credit cards really aren't for everybody. And even if it's just an emotional spending problem or just a lack of financial literacy, we can fix those issues if you address them. But for now, stop using all your credit cards. You need to start chipping away at your credit card debt and rebuilding that credit score. So, see, you can go from being a walking disaster to the rebuilder. Okay. There is a way back from this, I promise. You just have to stop that spending right now and step away from the credit cards. Thanks so much for joining me for episode number 12. What's your credit card personality? We talked about the 5 different types of credit card personalities and the types of credit cards they should be using. Now, I didn't mention this earlier, but in my book, Confessions of a Credit Junkie, chapter 3 is all about credit card personalities, and there's actually a quiz there if you would like to take it or get some more details. Up next, in episode number 13, we're going to talk about how to start investing your money in today's economy. You do not want to miss this. I have a special guest, John Devine, who's an investing expert for U.S. News and World Report. So I will see you in episode number 13.